So, Invincible is awesome. All of it. I read the series for the first time last year, and I was just, you know, when you're just, you know, you just read something that's really good, and you just like, it just takes over your every thought throughout the day, and all you care about is getting back home, so you can just sit in bed and just read it. That's what Invincible was for me last year, okay? And from Invincible, to get real specific with my absolute favorite couple issues in the story, my favorite fight, one of my favorite things ever, would have to be Invincible versus Conquest, okay? Their very first fight, alright? Now, for those of you that know, alright, this is the shit right here. This is the shit right here. Right here I have volume 12. I have the compendiums, but I got the individual issue volume for this because I just love it so much. So, yeah, I kind of like this fight a lot, you know. I think about it a good bit. And it has everything I love about this series just in these 4 issues, okay? So, let's just get into it, okay? Okay, once again, I hope this should be, this should be known. There's, spoiler alert for everything before this fight and after this fight and during this fight, okay? Huge spoiler alert, okay? So, now, I know, I'm going to be glossing over the Invincible War, which is crazy. That's one of the biggest events in the series. It's incredible. I love that issue, but we gonna talk about that another time, okay? So, issue 61, alright? So, just some background, okay? The Invincible War has left the world in disarray, okay? Cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, they are in shambles. It's not just America, though. Other places like Paris, London, and Tokyo have been affected by the war. We'll remember that epic-ass, just a couple panels of all the different marks just standing over various cities. Cool in theory. Must have been horrifying to be there. So, tons of heroes are dead, and millions of innocent people as well. And then, just at the heart of it all, we got Mark, okay? Now, Mark has been going through a bit of a rough time, okay? Now, if anyone knows this series well, you know that Blue Suit Mark is essentially Black Suit Spider-Man, okay? Blue Suit Mark, for my money, is the best stuff from the series, okay? Everything before and after is good, but when I think about my favorite shit, it's Blue Suit Mark. Anytime Mark is in Blue Suit, you know he's on absolute demon time, okay? You know he is not pulling his punches, he does not care, shit is over, okay, when he has the blue suit. And we get in the blue suit next season. Alright, sorry, I gotta slow down. Okay, so at the heart of this, okay, Mark is having a bit of a rough time, okay? Now, here's the thing. Mark is always having a rough time. It's kind of the fucking point. But he's especially having a hard time here because even though he knows he did everything that he could, he still feels that this is his fault, okay? Now, again, it's not his fault, okay? He didn't create Angstrom Levy, okay? Not really, okay? Angstrom did that to himself, okay? And it's also not his fault that in every other universe, Mark is evil in most other universes, okay? That's not his fault, okay? He is good and trying to be good, but, you know, it's very fucking hard, okay? It's kind of a bit of a dilemma. It's a very good dilemma, okay? So, Mark is having a bit of a rough time, and he is just clearing up debris. But when he's taking a moment to catch his breath, "Stand ready for my arrival, worm." Mark looks up to the sky to see Conquest. An elderly Viltrumite with a wicked scar and a robotic arm. Conquest is here to follow up on the orders given to Mark to prepare Earth to be a part of the Viltrumite Empire, reminding him that if he's made no progress, he will take over the job and kill him if he resists. Mark simply states, this isn't a good time. Conquest, he doesn't give a shit though. He informs him that they expected resistance, and therefore sent the man who has never failed to assimilate a planet, and essentially has never lost a fight. Mark, he vents. He vents how all the innocents and all of his friends have died, and whether he likes it or not, it's his fault. He's feeling immense guilt and shame, but above all, anger. Standing in front of him now is the only thing that would be able to handle his anger. Conquest is always looking for a fight, and in an instance, they charge at each other. Issue 62. The simple shockwave of their impact sends people flying back, okay? At first, Mark thinks he has an understanding of the situation he's in, but with each passing punch, Conquest remains unfazed. After flying through buildings and even more punches, Conquest starts to demonstrate his raw power with a single punch that shatters Mark's goggle. Watching this all unfold is Mark's mom, Debbie, her boyfriend, and Oliver. Sorry, I forgot the boyfriend's name. You're probably not important. Seeing his brother in danger, Oliver bolts off without a second thought. Mark tries to call a timeout to reason with Conquest, but he is not interested in talking one bit and reminds Mark that once he's dead, he will kill everyone on Earth with ease. Once again highlighting that Mark is Earth's only hope. In a moment, Oliver enters the fray, giving Mark barely a moment to catch his breath. Oliver is royally outmatched against Conquest, leading Mark to immediately re-enter the fight, sending Oliver away. Mark begins giving the fight his all, putting everything he can into each punch, kick, headbutt. Remember that move. Remember that move. But it's simply not enough. Meanwhile, over in the Pentagon, we got our favorite guy, Cecil. Sidebar, I love Cecil. I think he's one of the best characters in the series. Yes, you don't agree with him a lot of times, but I think he is very, very interesting, and I just love everything about him. And the fact that he's voiced by Walton Goggins in the show, one of my favorite actors right now. Awesome. Alright, back to the series. Over in the Pentagon, Cecil is one of many having the worst days ever, okay, as he's attempting to help with the recovery effort. And just seeing this stuff with Conquest is just adding to his horrible mood. And I love it. He just says it perfectly. Now! This has to happen now of all times? He's bolting through the hallways, alright? Just perfectly illustrating the horrible timing of this fight. But from a story perspective, this is literally the perfect time to have this fight. Right after the biggest thing ever. Cecil, like always, he's got a backup for the backup for the backup, and he talks to D.A. Sinclair, who is already working to make reanimates out of the marks that were defeated from other universes. But Sinclair's got some bad news. He's like, yeah, it would take just like multiple weeks to get one up and running, okay? And time is clearly not a luxury they have. So Cecil is like, fuck. Issue 63. Once again, issue 63... the best cover in the series, okay? The best thing ever. It's so good. The detail, oh my god. His arm, it is shattered. Oh my goodness. It is so gruesome and beautiful in a way. It's weird. It's like, the amount of detail on it is like incredible. Like, I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it looks great. All right. I think it's just in terms of like, I mean, you know, across comics and manga, there's just those panels that stick out where you're like, dude, if I hung that up, people would be like, oh, this is nice. This is nice, you know. And it's one of those, for me, illustrations where I'm like, that like speaks 1,000 words. That encapsulates everything about Invincible. Okay, he is beaten down, but he ain't giving up. Okay, that's why we love him. Alright? But anyways, on to issue 63. Eve wakes up in the hospital after her injuries during the war, and upon seeing Mark on the news getting juggled, immediately wants to help. Eve is like probably the greatest spouse, girlfriend in, I think, all of media? No, okay. She's fantastic though. I love everything about the relationship. Can't wait to see that this season. We so getting it, okay? Even for, sorry, I'm getting sidebarred here. Okay, we're gonna, let's go back. Okay, we'll talk about that later, okay? Amidst Mark getting thrown around like a rag doll, Conquest is just bitching in this dude's ear the entire fight. He's talking about how this mission and planet are beneath him. He scoffs at it, claiming it's all just so easy. He says he's having a fun time as he drives both of his feet just into Mark's back, just burying him in the ground. Once again, Oliver enters the fight, trying to help however he can, but he is quickly defeated as Conquest breaks his arm and prepares to tear him in half. Mark is racing in, and as we turn the page, thank God, he gets to him just in time. But the person who's once again receiving the beatdown of the century is Mark. Cecil teleports in, though, to rescue Oliver, thankfully. Cecil also gets word that Eve is up and wants to help, and at this point, he's willing to try anything. So he goes and talks to her, and he really kind of perfectly lays out the current stakes of the situation. The fight is happening so fast that they can barely predict where to send someone, because they are going so fast right now, Mark's being punched across the globe, essentially, alright? He also says that if they could send someone, they have maybe 6 people who could last more than a minute fighting Conquest. Obviously, most of the heroes are either dead or injured, and even if they were at top performance, they wouldn't be able to last long against Conquest, alright? Nevertheless, Eve doesn't give a shit. That's her dude out there. That's her dude. And she insists on going in to help. Back over in the fight, Conquest is juggling Mark over an ocean before sending him face first through a naval ship. Not stopping there, he just buries Mark's face into the ground at superhuman speed. Whoa. Whoa. Wow. Mark is able to get him off for a second, but Eve, she's already there. Mark now knows the sheer power Conquest possesses and tries to hold him back, telling Eve to get the fuck out of there. Conquest mocks Mark's emotions towards him as he shatters his leg with a karate chop. Eve puts up a force field to protect herself, but it's nothing as Conquest destroys it in an instant, proceeds to punch her across the face and impale her with his arm, killing her. Mark cradles Eve in his arms, not being able to grapple with his current situation. Losing the woman he loves, Conquest hovers over, admiring and mocking the care humans have for each other, before giving the coldest monologue that sums up the simplistic evil of this character. I should do this now. Don't know when I'll get the chance again. I want to thank you, Mark Grayson. Invincible. Really. From the bottom of my heart. It's not very often that I get to cut loose like this. I mean really cut loose like I have here. Usually, there are so many mission parameters. Don't destroy this, keep this person alive. But not here. Not with this planet. For whatever reason, I don't really care why, to be honest. I was told, take control, no matter what it takes. Take control of the planet. So whatever you did to piss us off, thank you. This has been fun. He's covered in the blood of Eve. Grinning. Whew. I love Conquest so much. It is very clear at this point, Conquest cannot be reasoned with. After Eve dies, Mark fully understands what he has to do to prevent every human on Earth from suffering the same fate as Eve. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow. Issue 64. Conquest laughs at the threat, but implores Mark to give him all he's got. Just like the way this fight began, they charge at each other once again. Mark puts everything into this one punch. The love for his people and the hate for his enemy. The impact destroying both of their arms in a masterpiece of a 2-page spread. Look at that. Look at that. That's art. That's art. That's one of the most hyped things I've ever seen in my entire life. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The tide of the fight begins to turn in Mark's favor ever so slightly as he relentlessly punches Conquest, who mocks his angered state, saying it doesn't make him stronger. Mark responds by taking a bite out of this guy's shoulder, ripping the shit out. Conquest is not having it, but Mark is on his ass. Eve is alive. Her eyes and eventually her entire body begin glowing pink as she seemingly resurrects. Mark is atop Conquest, hammering his face in with his one good arm. He takes his attention off of Conquest for a second, seeing Eve, and Conquest immediately cracks him across the face, telling him to pay attention. I'm right there with you. Eve looks like a cosmic being as she blasts Conquest, burning all of his skin off before passing out. Conquest tries to make his way over to Eve to kill her once again, but Mark flies in and knocks him to the ground, unleashing a fury of punches before Conquest catches one with his hand and proceeds to crush it like a fucking light bulb in his hand. Both of Mark's hands are shattered, leaving him to finish off Conquest the only way he can, delivering one 2, 3, almost 20 headbutts to cave Conquest's skull in another masterful 2-page spread. Look at that. Look at that. That's art. That's art. Conquest has been defeated. Mark's covered in blood as he hovers victoriously over what's left of Conquest's head. He crawls over to Eve as they profess their love for each other. And just then, Cecil and every other hero teleports in to see the aftermath of the fight. And it's over. Now, obviously, we don't have to get into after the fight where, yeah, Conquest isn't technically dead. Cecil, like I was saying, I like Cecil earlier. Probably one of the most brain-dead moves he's ever made. Has him kept in a basement, and him and Mark do fight again. And that fight is awesome. It's very short, but it is awesome. But for now's sake, he did. Alright. Now, yeah. So that was Invincible versus Conquest. I will never forget my first time reading this fight. I thought it was the end of the series. This fight carries so much weight, just dramatically and just in sheer scale, that I honestly thought I was reading like the final fight. It's only like issue 60. Invincible has about, I want to say, 147 issues, so it's like not even halfway, almost halfway through the series that we are given this fight, and it is incredible. Okay, so why do I love this fight so much? Other than the just obvious, it's super badass and it's super awesome and it's super cool to look at, everything I love about Invincible as a series is on display over these 4 issues. So, I'm just going to touch on everything that works about this fight, okay? The artwork is absolutely phenomenal. Across the whole series, obviously, I'd say it's always great, but these couple issues especially, the art is just so incredible to look at, especially in its brutality, okay? There's so much detail on display, and it goes beyond just being traditional, just shock value gore. There is a real just artistry behind the violence, okay? The fight is so easy to follow from panel to panel, and it always has this great sense of escalation, you know? Fights in comics and manga, you know, like, when we see a good one, we're like, yeah, but, like, you gotta really just appreciate how hard that is from panel to panel, make it all cohesive to where when you're reading over it, it just flows perfectly. Like, the pace of a fight is very hard when you really think about it, but it does it just perfectly here. And once again, the cover for issue 63, one of my favorite things ever to look at, okay? If your main character does not look like this after overcoming impossible odds, was it really even a challenge? I need him looking like this after every spat with a villain, okay? This issue cover shows that this fight was not a walk in the park, okay? Bro really had to do some shit, okay? 2 of the best 2-page spreads in the series, okay? Both of them are absolutely phenomenal, okay? And they just speak volumes. I mean, I think people who haven't read the series could look at the two-page spreads and be like, "Ooh, yeah, I mean, that looks awesome. That looks awesome." The next thing I want to talk about with this fight are the stakes, okay? The stakes are clearly defined and laid out in front of us, okay? Putting this fight immediately after the Invincible War is one of the best ideas in the entire series, okay? We've all seen those moments in storytelling where the worst events all line up to just heighten the stakes and add tension. When it's done best is when you don't see it coming and it feels natural in the story. We as readers are so distracted by Angstrom Levy and the Invincible War, which is such a major event in the series, it feels insane to have another giant event immediately after. Immediately! I'm talking Invincible War is issue 60, this is issue 61, okay? Immediately after. It's genius. We knew another Viltrumite would be coming to see Mark's progress. This has been a running plot line since he fought those Viltrumites with his dad, which I feel like was like almost 40 issues ago. Anesis showed up beat the brakes off his ass, just showing once again how brutal the Viltrumites are and how, in retrospect, Omni-Man kind of seems like a nice guy, okay? And when Anissa leaves, she states that another more terrifying Viltrumite will be next to follow to see his progress. And then after that, you're just like, who could be worse than you? Who could be worse than Omni-Man? Who could be worse than Anissa, okay? And who could be more brutal? Mark lost drastically in both of those fights, and it just makes you wonder who could be worse. The answer is Conquest. Now let's talk about Conquest for a second, alright? Invincible as a whole, I think, has a fantastic cast of villains, okay? All of them are major threats, and they're all very distinct. You understand why they're doing what they're doing, and they're always a great threat to Mark, whether it be physically or mentally. They can always challenge him, alright? And in some ways are better than him. I mean, we got the obvious, like, Angstrom and Robot use their genius-level intellect to battle Invincible. Thrag is just a almost genius-level tactician and one of the best fighters in the series, okay? Along with being threatening, okay, they just have very understandable motives. Even if we don't agree with them, we fully understand why they're doing what they're doing. Angstrom's brain is scrambled from having the memories of every other version of himself. And in a majority of those other universes, Mark is evil, okay? And Mark also, in other universes, has killed loved ones of his and just enslaved mankind. So it makes perfect sense why he hates the Mark of this universe. It's just fucking ironic that he ends up in the one universe with the one good Mark, okay? But you keep testing his ass, alright? Robot, I mean, there is so much to talk about with Robot, but I mean, I'll just leave it at that. He objectively makes the world a better place, but it's just through very, very questionable means, and kind of, there's a lot to unpack with him, but you totally get why he's doing what he's doing, because he, more than any of them, is like, I am the hero. I am the good guy, okay? Thrag, he's just not interested in uniting with others, okay? He wants Viltrumites to be above everyone. He wants to keep it like the good old days, okay? That's his mentality, okay? Again, he's just all for his people, okay? But you get it. Very understandable. And then we have Conquest. He just likes his job. Conquest simply enjoys everything he does. He doesn't have a hidden agenda, any morals, like a tragic backstory that we know of. He exists as a being of pure chaos and violence. This lack of a reasonable motivation in being so simple in his views, in my opinion, makes him the scariest threat. Because there's no talking to this guy, okay? He is going to kill everyone. Just 'cause. Those are his orders. And facing him, we have Mark, okay? Mark, I love Mark so much, okay? Mark as a character goes through so much and grows so much over the entire series, and this fight felt like the first time we truly felt the weight on his shoulders, okay? He is the only person who can defeat Conquest. Even with Eve and Oliver coming in to help, he was basically alone, okay? Even if every other hero wasn't dead or recovering from the war, he stands above all of them as the only one who can stand a chance against Conquest. He's the only thing that can prevent essentially the end of the world for Earth. And when he wins, just by the skin of his teeth, no bullshit, just through sheer willpower, it's really fucking inspiring, okay? At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's incredibly inspiring. Invincible as a series, yeah, it's about superhero beings and aliens and all this shit, okay? But the writing is so great and the characters are so grounded in a way that feels relatable. You know, I'm sure none of us have had to fight an otherworldly being to save mankind, but we've been in situations where we feel like the odds are stacked against us, where we're like, what the fuck? We feel like we have our back against the wall, okay? But the feeling when you overcome that, it's a feeling I'm sure everyone can agree is indescribable, but is just incredible, okay? This fight, Invincible versus Conquest, reminds me of all the times I felt like nothing's going right and you just want to give up, but didn't, okay? these 4 issues, they not only entertain me to a ridiculous degree, but they inspire me every time I think about or reread them, okay? It's just... life is a wonderful thing, but it does have some consistent as, jarring as, fucked up as challenges, okay? They can feel impossible. But just like Mark, on the verge of defeat, being able to persevere, it's beautiful and makes you almost feel a little better. Yeah, in short, I really love this fight. I implore anyone who's read the series, maybe go reread it again, go reread this fight. Anyone who hasn't read the series, thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me spoil everything, and go pick up this issue, these couple issues, and I'd say read the fight as well. That's all I got for you guys today. Once again, really just do enjoy everything about this fight, and I just wanted to get this out there before what I think will be us seeing this animated early next year. I think this will be the finale of Season 3. That's my prediction. But I just want to leave it on this. Thank you once again for watching. This has been Will Shire here. Have a good one.